Hello everyone, and welcome back to Acupuncture's My Life. This episode is the first of many discussing inflammation as a global problem. There's a reason why in the Acupuncture's My Life podcast I recommend so many people see an acupuncturist on a regular basis. Because when you do, if you do, and I hope you do, a lot of your health disorders can in some cases magically go away. But you see, this 13-part series is going to look deep into inflammation as not a domestic, but global problem. Because the common line or connection to almost every disease and the factor that causes the progression of just about every disease is inflammation. Now, this can range from, let's say, allergies to asthma, from fibromyalgia to arthritis, from colitis to cancer. Understand something. Most diseases begin and also worsen with inflammation. Now, I understand there are some individuals out there who don't understand what inflammation is. So, just to give you a basic understanding, you see, inflammation is a fundamental pathological process which consists of a dynamic of complex of cellular changes that are visible only under a microscope. You see, these changes, they tend to include, let's say, cellular infiltration and mediator release, which occurs in the affected blood vessels and the adjacent tissues in response, let's say, to an injury or abnormal stimulation caused by physical, chemical, or even a biological agent, and in some cases, psychological. Inflammation tends to include local reactions and resulting morphologic changes. You see, the destruction or removal of the injurious material and the responses that lead to repair and healing. So this leads into getting you to understand that there are basically two types of inflammation. One of them is acute, which is good for you. It's required. And the other is chronic. Now that is bad. Chronic inflammation is not good for you at all. You see, because acute inflammation is usually helpful because with an acute injury, inflammation protects the body from further injury and it assists in the repair and healing process. So let's take, for instance, you sprain your wrist, for example. Your immune system would immediately release inflammatory chemicals, which are called cytokines. Now, these inflammatory signals in the body then cause swelling and stimulate certain types of white blood cells that help defend and protect the injured area from infection and further injury. So that's how acute inflammation is good for you. Because when inflammation is basically controlled, it provides enormous, huge benefits for your body. Okay? But now understand something. Too much inflammation can become a problem. While the balance of acute and controlled inflammation can be useful in more situations than not, it's like striking that balance between yin and yang. And I've spoken about this in several podcast episodes. Balanced yin and yang is the equivalent of homeostasis. Okay? Now, if inflammation were to continue and become chronic, your body would begin to lose its ability to maintain a normal state of health. Again, homeostasis or balanced yin and yang, which would lead to progressively worsening disease. Now, in discussing diseases and conditions that are basically associated with chronic inflammation are like allergies. Inhalants like foods or chemicals such as colorings and preservatives, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, all types of cancers, coronary heart disease, myocarditis, hypertension, phlebitis, varicositis, and even like dental issues such as like gingivitis and periodontal disease, diabetes, thyroiditis, obesity, conjunctivitis, otitis, inflammation within the ears, sinusitis, pharyngitis, inflamed throat, even GI disorders like gastritis, esophagitis, irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, diverticulitis, tendinitis, bursitis. We can even look at, like, let's say viral infections such as the flu, colds, hepatitis C, HIV, Epstein's Barr virus, even the lungs, asthma, COPD, bronchitis, dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, eczema, acne, psoriasis, which is an autoimmune disorder, and dermatitis. These are diseases, or rather, or should I say conditions, that tend to be associated with chronic inflammation. And when many people are diagnosed with these disorders, in general, they're usually told that these disorders will be lifelong and they have to take their medication for an indefinite amount of time or else it'll get worse. And unfortunately, many individuals continue taking their medication year after year, decade after decade. And usually they don't get better. And the disease usually doesn't resolve itself. So most people, and with that being the case, tend to be chronically inflamed regardless of the medications they're prescribed. Because medications can cause inflammation as well. So what else can be a culprit? Let's just say too many pro-inflammatory foods in your diet. And this is what I said, psychological, stressful, as well as unhealthy lifestyles with minimal movement or even exercise. And boom, overuse of prescription drugs that are being taken to so-called treat the symptoms, but they usually mask the underlying causes of dysfunction. And that's where acupuncture comes into play. And I say this over and over in so many of my podcasts. Because acupuncturists they assess the body as unique to all other constitutions. Okay, your constitution, mine, this one or that one, our constitution is different. We're born with certain excesses and certain deficiencies. And they usually present themselves sometime within our lifespan. And an acupuncturist can pick that up and know which meridians to nourish, which meridians to sedate, to keep you balanced, to keep yin and yang balanced, keep you in a state of homeostasis. This is why I'm constantly recommending you see your local acupuncturist, or even contact Acupuncture My Life. Because a combination of pro-inflammatory foods, stress, prescription drugs tend to prevent an individual from ever healing and becoming or living a healthy lifestyle again. See your local acupuncturist. You see, a variety of potential sources of inflammation can either contribute to acute and chronic diseases, including cancer. Some of these sources are like, let's say, different types of food factors: animal protein, dairy, fried foods. You can even consider environmental pollutants, smog, heavy metals in your water, chemotherapy also, bacteria, H. pylori, E. coli, chlamydia, pneumonia, parasites, viruses, again, hepatitis, HIV, Epstein-Barr virus. What else can I? Cigarette smoke, tobacco, even e-cigarettes. You know, these contribute to acute as well as chronic diseases. And also alcohol. I speak on that a lot. Liquor, beer, wine. Tanning booths, tanning salons. Stress. Hypoxia. Now, you know, I'm going to request that some of you guys do your homework and look up hypoxia. Okay? And think about that for a second. That's all I'm going to say. But that's a form of stress, along with fear, anger, anxiety, and even like environmental allergens, for instance. You see, environmental allergens such as grass, weeds, molds can cause or trigger inflammation. And there are many individuals who have mold in the walls of their homes and they don't realize it. And they're becoming chronically inflamed as a result of living there for an extended period of time. You see, there's so much Acupuncture My Life is going to expose you to with regard to inflammation as a global problem. And hopefully some of you guys will take heed to what I'm discussing or will be discussing. Consider acupuncture. Consider Eastern nutrition. Because this is an issue that must be addressed. Because so many individuals, billions, not millions, billions of individuals are chronically inflamed. And it's not good. Which is why I say you must make acupuncture a part of your life. Because acupuncture is my life. What's yours?